Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin. She's Nikki.
Hi.
And we're just going to cut this off at the pass. We've had some issues with Nikki's mic, which I don't know if you've noticed it, but I have, and it's bothered me. So we've changed it up a little bit this week. It's probably not going to sound as good. We're working on getting that fixed. But it's probably
I don't get to use my pretty pink microphone.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But it's not going to sound as probably as clean and clear, but we're hoping that it won't. Yeah, we're hoping that it won't cut out like it was for before, and hopefully we can get that fixed relatively soon. But anyway, Nick, how was your week? Mm-hmm. How was your week?
It's okay. It's just busy. I haven't been feeling well this week.
I'm sorry.
It's just all over the place. It's all good. But just busy.
Yeah.
Busy, always.
Well,
how are you?
We're starting flu season and all that stuff. So,
yeah, you know. It's like headaches and it's also like allergies are somehow worse this week, but then it's hopefully that tailors off soon, and who knows? It's just that time of year.
Yeah. I have been good. This is my first full week of work in a couple because I took off a little bit of time around my birthday. This has been, it was a long week because after you do like a couple short weeks, it's going for that first full one again is a lot.
It's rough.
It's a lot, but
it
actually it wasn't as bad as I actually thought it was going to be. So that was nice. Mm-hmm. That was nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do really quick because we don't really have much else than that, but I do have one shout out this week. Actually, I got a couple shout outs. I want to say happy birthday to my aunt, who I don't off the top of my head know how old she turned, but
happy birthday, Kevin's aunt.
Happy birthday.
However old you are.
Her birthday was just the other day, and I also. We got a comment from a...
Ooh.
So, thank you for commenting. We've also had some new people subscribe, so thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the podcast. It is about nothing and everything at the same time. Just whatever we want to talk about for any given week. But this one came from a new person that we haven't had comment before, and it was actually on the movie episode for this week.
Oh, nice.
Which was the Bridge Over the River Kwai, which you said you would not watch. But it was very good.
I think I've seen it a long time ago, but definitely not able to comment on it.
So this is from Billy A? It's Billy EHH. At Billy EHH. So I'm not exactly sure what that is. But one of the things that I talked about in this episode was there's a song that I've heard before, and it's a whistling tune that the soldiers whistle while they're marching around in the movie. And I've heard the tune before, but I didn't know where it started. This is the earliest thing that I've ever heard it in. And they wrote me an entire, almost a novel. I'm very thankful on the history of this. It's called the Colonel Bogey March, apparently. It is British, which makes sense because in the movie they're British soldiers, and it was composed in 1914, and they kind of go into other things about the director in the movie and several other things. So thank you very much for commenting. I'm not going to read the whole thing on here because it would take me a few minutes, but thank you very much. Their last comment is, please do a little more research of your subject. Well, I don't know that that's going to happen, but this is a hobby. It's not a full-time job.
Billy, thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your comment.
If you listen to the podcast, we don't know what we're talking about.
No, we don't most of the time. And that's
what we do is give you the option to research more. We kind of posit these different subjects.
And I was thinking about what I think of this podcast as being. And I'm sorry we're getting meta, like talking about ourselves. But I think of this as, because this is kind of what it is and how me and you are anyway. This is like what you would talk about sitting around with a bunch of your friends. It's random.
Yeah, for sure.
It goes everywhere, and it just happens to be whatever you're talking about at that particular time. And that's kind of what it is.
This is basically your and I's weekly, like, if it was in normal world where we were like next to each other, it'd be like a coffee date or something.
Yeah.
And we're catching up, talking about whatever interesting thing we're interested in this week.
Yep. Which
is why we talk about like the bare minimum. Usually, except for the Dolly Parton episode, I did do a lot of research on that one. But most of the time, this podcast is basically just other people listening to like a coffee date between us.
Us having just having fun and hanging out, which is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, that's fun for us. And that's what I think a lot of, I mean, that's what I feel like a lot of podcasts are. Even if you have like a guest or something on, a lot of times it's just, you're just chatting. Like, I don't know.
For sure.
So, but anyway, yes, Billy, thank you for the comment. Thank you for the information. I'm probably not. Probably not going to do that much more research on the subject.
It's good to know that stuff though, because we are like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen and do genuinely know like a lot about some of the topics we go through. So when they comment, I find it very interesting because we are definitely like jack of all trades, master of none. But we have some pretty niche listeners, I think.
We do, but I'm not going to say there's a lot of them. I wouldn't say a lot of people listening. Like, there's a couple.
Several.
There's a couple listening. If we're on a good day, there might be a couple listening.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to our topic of not really having anything to talk about or just whatever we want to this week. This week we're doing another kind of like episode on haunted things, and we're talking about some of the most haunted artifacts.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited about this because we've talked about, well, even when the podcast was you and Stevie in the very beginning, and it was like episode 3, and I was a guest to talk about different haunted stories and places.
Yeah.
But we've never talked about specific objects.
No.
So this is really interesting. And I will preface this with, I do not believe everything I'm going to talk about today. But it is all very interesting to hear other people's thoughts and stories. And I'll posit a theory that I have, towards the end of us talking about these things. But I will preface that I do not believe in everything I'm going to talk about, but these are still really good stories.
Yes.
So I'll start with that caveat.
Yes. Because they are, it is interesting. This is something I noticed because you sent me a couple videos to watch about a couple of these artifacts. And it is interesting to see how, trying to think of the best way to say this. It's interesting to see how much people are into this and how they feel about what's going on and how much they believe what is going on. And when you have that much conviction, we kind of talked about it with the when we did the cryptids episode and the Missouri Monster and the Bigfoot and stuff like that. When you have that much conviction and that many people saying the same things about a lot of stuff like that, it's hard to just write all of them off as being crazy. Or,
agreed.
Or not, being over the top or exaggerated or whatever. Because there's so many of them that it's just
like where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But is there maybe someone fanning the fire?
Yeah,
fanning the fire.
Yeah, fanning the flame.
Like adding maybe some details and things to the stories, but there's still maybe an underlying truth there. Like there's lots of things I think that we've talked about on this podcast that are like that. Like it maybe started with one thing, became this other thing, but that doesn't change the fact that, one person genuinely had an experience or thought this or whatever. Yeah.
So anyway, Nick, let's start off with the first thing. What, I don't
know. The Dybbuk box?
The Dybbuk box. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I thought about this. And one, I didn't realize it was in Missouri.
For a little while, yeah.
For a little while. Whenever this video that you sent me that it was in, the owner of it is in Missouri. I don't know where it is now then. But it was in the town where you went to college, which made me wonder, did she go to college because this is here? Or
no. I found out after. I think I was a junior.
Okay.
When I first found out it was even there.
Okay.
Because that is when, like 2016, 2017-ish is when the guy from Missouri brought it to Zach Bagans to the TV show. Mm-hmm. And then that story kind of came to light again because it hadn't been talked about in a while because it was buried in his yard.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that it was in Kirksville, Missouri until I was already almost done with school.
Okay. Yeah, the host talked about the fact that he hadn't heard about it or seen it or heard anything about it in several years, and the guy was like, "Yeah, it hasn't left Missouri in 10 years. It's been buried for 7 of those." So, if you're scared enough to bury something in the yard, like out in the middle of nowhere where nobody can find it in a military box, then you gotta be somewhat scared of the thing, I would say.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway.
I'll give you a rundown of what the Dybbuk box is and what Dybbuk is also. So the Dybbuk box itself, it's a antique wine cabinet, basically.
Okay.
And it's so supposedly haunted by a Dybbuk, which is a concept from Judaism. And everyone that talks about this box says a Dybbuk is like a malicious spirit. And most people believe it's the dislocated soul of a dead person. So like someone whose soul is dislocated, wandering, basically, like can't find a home. And that's why it's called the Dybbuk box and why it's considered haunted. As to whether or not this is a real Jewish concept, I have no idea. This is just a story. So this box itself came to light and gained notoriety when it was first auctioned off on eBay. And Kevin Manis, the one who was auctioning it off, created this whole backstory. And I say created because we don't really know if it's true or not. It's a story. It's the legend around it. Mm-hmm. But he said that Jewish Holocaust survivors owned this and then passed away in the Holocaust. And now this is, haunted by a dislocated soul. Mm-hmm. So that is why, this specific box is so haunted.
Okay.
And so a couple of years went by, and then it eventually switched owners. It went to the guy in Kirksville. Eventually the guy in Kirksville, Jason Haxton, brought it to Zach Bagans, who I say that as if everyone in the world knows who Zach Bagans is. He's the guy from Ghost Adventures that has the TV shows in the museum. Mm-hmm. So that's when it became like really famous.
Okay. So I did look up. I don't again know the history of this, but I went up looked up Dybbuk real quick, and according to Encyclopedia Britannica, it is a Jewish folklore. So it's kind of hard to say if it's how correct it is or how
it's like
much
any other folklore.
It's like anything else. So it's a disembodied human spirit that, because of former sins, wanders restlessly until it finds a haven in the body of a living person.
Interesting.
So, so it's not. It almost makes it sound to me like a demon. Like it says that because of former sins makes it sound like it's not necessarily the best thing.
Something malicious. Yeah. Like I'm very much of the belief that everyone, as soon as something negative happens, they're like, it's a demon. It's a demon. I'm like, no, it could just be something negative. Like think about humans in general. There can be pretty negative and depressing people that in their lifetime are very negative. Doesn't mean they're a demon. It's the same thing with the spirit world. But this does make it seem like it's genuinely something very malicious.
Yeah.
But so when it's opened, and So Post Malone, love Austin. He was on with Zach Bagans on a special, and they opened the Dybbuk box, and it was this big, thing because they did it live on TV and whatever. Then he went on Seth Meyers a couple years later and said, this is like on TV. He went on the record and was like, I think that opening that, or, he's like, I don't know, it might have been a coincidence, but after they opened that, within the same month, he got into a car accident, his house was robbed, and then something else happened. There was a couple like really intense things happened all within a month. And so when he talks about the paranormal, which he does quite a bit because he loves like UFOs and paranormal and stuff.
Yeah.
He will say like this happened all within that month, and it's a weird coincidence.
It is. I mean, it is a weird coincidence, and a lot of things are, I think a lot of things are coincidence, and we try to find the connection to them. But that doesn't also. I'm not.
We like to find meaning.
We like to find meaning in things, and like, okay, well, why is this happening? Oh, well, I did this. It must be connected to that. This thing is known to be like a bad spirit thing. So it must, and all these bad things have happened. So it must have been that. I'm not gonna. I'm very skeptical when it comes to this kind of stuff because I don't think that it's like. I'm not entirely against believing it, but it's I think it's a lot of times like there's no. I like the science and the facts, unfortunately. So there's it's just a difference. And I watched the couple clips of and we'll get to it later, but and this one was interesting because the original owner or so on the episode, the guy that brought it in, they also brought in the former owner of it. Yeah. Who claimed that his mom had partly died from this thing because she opened it. And he said as he found her with the doors open on the ground in the middle of having a stroke. And then they had this sequence where they have him in like the basement with just him in the box and a camera, and he's like speaking in weird like terms and rhymes and things, and it's like it just seemed a little over the top at times too. Like
that is so, Kevin, that you will come to know everything with Zach Bagans is over the top.
Okay, that was gonna
not to say they have not had probably real experiences, for sure. I mean, because I've been watching their shows since I was literally like 7. Yeah. Because it's been on forever. So they've definitely had real experiences. Do they act a little bit? Of course, because they're on a
television show. Yeah, I get it. And I understand that that's gonna make people more excited to watch, and there's stuff's happening. Because if nothing ever happened, like with me, everybody would be bored and nobody would watch because I'd be like, okay, nothing happened. Welcome to our show. Nothing happened.
If we would have videotaped, like had a camera crew of us, like investigating the Missouri Penitentiary, it would have been so boring. Yeah. Because we just walked around and asked questions. Yeah. I was the only one that got scared and at one point like jumped and dropped my equipment. But that would have been such a boring.
But even when you did that, it wasn't like a big thing. It was just like, you okay? Okay, good. Let's keep going. And that was it. Like,
and I was like, no, but let's go.
Yeah, I was gonna wait. Yeah, I was gonna wait to ask this until after the second one or the third one. Because those are the videos that I watched of him, because I watched 3 of them. But I was going to ask if he's always that excitable, and that you just answered the question for me then. So, because he gets very excited. Like the first 2 are from this, they're the same setup where somebody brings in the haunted item, and he's like sitting there interviewing them with the haunted item in the room with them. And when they carry in the haunted item, he's like, "Oh my gosh, is this?" And it's like, "Oh, okay." Like,
it's like he gets. If you had walked like Harry Styles into the room, that's like how excited he gets every time.
Yeah.
That's like the equivalent for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much like that. And so on the actual show, so I think the artifacts, and because he's done a couple spinoffs, but if you just watch like the actual Ghost Adventures, I always love when things happen to, I shouldn't probably word it like that. I don't love when things negative happen to these people, but I like watching when things happen to the other investigators because they're more methodical. Yeah. More like you would be if you were, investigating, like, like they might freak out for a second, but then they're like, okay, let's figure out what's going on, try to debunk it, try to recreate it if it's like a visual thing. And they are very like methodical most of the time, not saying they don't ever also get freaked out and whatever, but the TV show is really good when it's more than just him, for sure. Okay. If it was just him, the whole thing would be like, this is kind of whack. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the second one, that again, he was like, oh, this is because both the two that you sent me also, he's like, this is the most haunted thing, and it's like, okay, well,
I know,
that's a little over the top. But the second one was, I had never heard of any of these. I'd heard of the third one because I've been there, but the Dybbuk box I'd never heard of. And he talked about it being like one of the most haunted things ever, and several people did, which is interesting. And then the second one was Robert the Doll, which and the lady that was when they were talking, he made the like comment that this is what was the inspiration for Chucky, which is interesting. So what?
It's very, very interesting. And so I had known of all these, hence why I wanted to do that episode. And I've also seen most of these in his museum because I've been to the museum in Las Vegas.
Oh,
that
it's
was
in
my
Vegas.
bachelorette trip.
It's in Las Vegas. Okay.
Yeah, it's in Las Vegas. You go to Las Vegas not to gamble. You go to see a museum. Yeah, so Robert the Doll.
That's what I'd do too. So, like Madame Tussauds and this place.
It was fun. Yeah, and then get sushi and then go back to Missouri.
There you
go. So Robert the Doll, and the thing that always got me was like you can't even talk about Robert the Doll in like a negative way because people genuinely think if you look at him wrong or even talk about him, he will cause like car accidents, broken bones. Like there's so many stories of people leaving the museum in Key West. This one's in Key West where Robert the Doll is.
Yeah.
I believe he's still there.
Okay.
Because that's where he's originally from and the family donated him to this specific museum.
Okay.
For like his permanent place.
Yeah.
Not to say he doesn't maybe travel around, but so Robert is a haunted doll in Key West, Florida. Originally owned by Robert Eugene Otto, hence the name Robert the Doll. Who was just a prominent Key West family. And this kid's grandpa had traveled to Germany and brought this doll back from Germany in 1904 and then gave it to Otto as a birthday gift when he was young, Robert Otto. And so that's where the doll came from. And then people think that the sailor suit that Robert wears, the doll, is one of Robert Otto's original like childhood outfits.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there could be like
because the doll's large, like it's not a small. It's like the size of a small child.
It's a child-sized doll for sure. So, but as to like the lore behind how it became haunted, the stories are kind of all over the place because it's kind of like there's people have said so many different things. It's kind of lost its original storyline. I don't know how it became haunted.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else knows and can comment, but there's so many different versions of the story.
What are the more prominent ones? Because that was one thing that I like. They talked about because the clips that I watched weren't the whole episodes. You sent me like 4-minute clips or whatever, but they talked about how the kid was like enamored with this doll and talked to him like a human, even when he had gotten married, is what they said. Like when he had grown up, not a kid talking to a doll, because he got this doll when he was like, they said 4 or something. But even as like an adult, he still treated this doll like it was a human.
A human.
But that didn't really explain how it became haunted.
There were a couple different stories. So the first one is just that he was so attached to it in life, talking to it, like you just said, as a kid and an adult, that his spirit stayed with it after and somehow turned negative. That one doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, why would someone who loved this doll be negative towards others unless you just don't want other people around you? I don't know. So the first one was just that the spirit of Robert Otto is in Robert the doll.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really make sense to me. But then the other one doesn't really make sense either. The other one I've heard is like there's like a voodoo curse on it, which is always like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
I don't even know. So those are the two that I have heard and read.
The voodoo.
There might be others, but
to me, the voodoo curse sounds like a scapegoat to just explain that it's haunted.
People just blame it on that. I'm like, that's an actual like religion for some people. That's not just like a thing that you blame things on. So that one doesn't make sense to me.
I can actually understand the trying to look at this from a like ghost point, like a ghost person's point of view, because I'm kind of skeptical. I'm just gonna say it. I like this
Put yourself
stuff.
in a ghost's shoes.
I like this stuff. I think it's interesting, but just trying to. I'm not,
think like a ghost, Kevin.
Think like a ghost. So I can understand the Robert the Boy spirit being in the doll, and the reason that is because I think of it as being like he was around this doll. He treated it like a person. He kind of brought it to life through himself. And I can understand it being bad now because obviously if that kid loved this doll that much, if anything bad happened to that doll or people were mean to it, he's going to be mean back. Or he's not going to like
especially
that.
if people go into this museum and are like, whatever. It's, it's not haunted. If it is Robert Otto in the doll, maybe he's like, this is my doll and I'm here and screw you.
Yeah.
And then you get a broken bone.
Yeah. And that's where
job loss, divorce, broken bones. There were so many like misfortunes listed with him.
Yeah. And so that's where I can see it with the kid. Because if he was, if he was that enamored and attached to this doll, that he would be still trying to protect it even after he had passed. That's where I could see it.
So I can see that too. That does make sense when you think about it that way. When you think like a ghost.
Anyway.
So that's Robert the doll. Yeah, I think those two are probably one of the most famous.
Okay.
And then I have two other ones that people might not know, but do you want to do Titanic first?
Yeah, so there was also a clip that you sent me was from it's from the same show. What's his name again? Zach Bagans. Zach Bagans? Okay. It was from his show when they did this one was a little bit different because it's more like him and some other guys watching an old video back from when they went to the Titanic Museum in Branson.
Yeah, during COVID, they did like these screening rooms, like screening room. Okay. And they went back and just watched clips of old things if they couldn't like investigate a place. So
got it.
That was probably the setup of it. They're watching an older episode.
Okay, so is that an old episode of Ghost Adventures then?
Yes, they did go to the Titanic Museum in Branson.
Okay, so I have been to the Titanic Museum in Branson. You've been to the Titanic Museum in Branson.
Yeah,
there's a lot of artifacts there, which makes sense. That the idea that if there is a bunch of people that die in some tragic event and you have a bunch of artifacts, that some of them could be haunted. That totally makes sense. But he was a little over the top with some of it because like they showed things that it's like, okay, well that's a little weird and a little over the top. But it was interesting because they talked about one of the workers there said that she believes that she sees John Jacob Astor standing at the top of the staircase, which is right next to a room where they have created his room on the ship, which is interesting.
Like recreated it.
Yeah. They also, thought they saw child's handprints on a window near where the, and, people said they've seen, the face of the Well, no, that was an artifact that he has that people said they've seen the face of the captain in his old mirror. But I thought it was interesting because it is that one was the longest clip of the ones that you sent me. But again, they were a little over the top at times with it. That is just like, okay, this is it was kind of difficult for me to watch because it's a little much. And they, a lot of things that I heard, it was it seemed like they were trying to make it out of something that it wasn't. But again, I don't know. They're making a crap ton more money than I am doing this, so they're doing something right somewhere.
Well, and it's like, so obviously there's artifacts from the ship. There's yes, are some of them probably haunted for sure? So many people died. The one that got me was the handprints on the glass. So like they made a point to say, okay, here's the handprints, but we're going to Windex it. We show you a clean glass panel and then cut to there's handprints again. So is it editing? I don't know. I mean, no one except the film crew, the people there truly know.
And that
is wild because if you think about it from like, not scientific, but a more like methodical approach. Okay, if you see a handprint, let's replicate it. So we're going to clean the glass. Let's show a clean slate of glass.
Yeah.
Leave, for an hour, come back, and if there's little handprints on it, that's pretty creepy.
Yeah. And that was probably the most interesting part of it. The other ones where they said that they heard words out of a spirit box, and like they had a little thing that they had sitting on the floor that said dictionary, and it had would say a word on it, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this seems like it's just a
Novulus.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. It just
I love the Ovulus. I love when they do that.
It just seems a little weird to me because it's just like, well, it's just a computer saying a word. Like, you have no...
So, it kind of goes to the theory that I was going to talk about later. Like, it's supposed to somehow read, like, electromagnetic energy. The theory is that a spirit says a word in their energy, and then that's the word that's produced. But then, But
how do you have any way of testing to know if that's true or not?
Yeah, I don't know how the inner workings of that, align. I don't know. But I'll talk about my theory more later, but you probably have more to say about the Titanic.
So I'm a big fan of the Titanic. I think it's a very interesting story. I don't know that I have a lot more to say about it because it is interesting. There is a lot of, it's a massively tragic event. You have thousands of people.
There's a lot of energy
that die in a very tragic way that they're not expecting. I actually have an artifact on my desk from the Titanic. I don't know if it's haunted. I don't know that I've ever had any issues. I was just going to ask,
do you think it's haunted?
I don't know. I've never had any issues. I think I've shown it on here before. I don't know if I have or not. But it's a piece of coal from the Titanic. There's a little shine on it. It's a piece of coal from the shipwreck. It was brought up during an exhibition, an excursion down to the Titanic in the 90s. And... it's just a little piece of coal. Now, I don't know that a piece of coal would necessarily be haunted, because it's not anything that anybody would have ever dealt with. I mean, I guess there was a bunch of people that died down there in the engine and coal room, so I guess that's a possibility, but...
You could say that, or there's also that, like, what do they call it? This stone tape theory. No, it's coal, not stone. But things like Pythian Castle, which we're going to go there and probably they're going to mention this. But any place that's like stone or cement, there's this theory that like that holds energy more. I don't understand. Again, I don't understand science.
Yeah.
I don't know science. But
I don't think
like the theory is that things like that hold more intrinsic energy and are more of a conduit for like spirit energy. Now, does coal fit in that? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a rock. I mean, kind of ish. I don't know. Do
you think your apartment's haunted?
Not that I know of. Now watch, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and see some ghost in my room. My dad actually has that happen. He's seen a ghost in his room several times, he says.
Really?
He's also seen a ghost at a park in Springfield that he that is supposedly an actual known spirit that is in that area. And he claims to have seen that too. My dad's kind of weird though, so there's no telling at times. You know, everybody in he claims he's been to Graceland with everybody with my grandparents and my uncle. None of them remember ever going or say that they never went. So
he could be remembering a past life.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But you know, like a past life wouldn't have been like Elvis was alive when my dad was born. So it's not, like Graceland isn't that old. So it's not like one of those, it's not like he remembers seeing King Arthur at the Round Table or something. He remembers going to Graceland with them. And that's the thing, is he remembers going with them. So it's not, I don't know. He's just flipping weird. There's no telling. We're all weird. This family's weird.
We're all weird here.
We're all weird.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's interesting though.
You said there's 2 more artifacts that you didn't send me that and I don't know about any of these. I had never heard about any of these. I mean, obviously the Titanic, I know what the Titanic is. I think everybody knows what the Titanic is, but what was one of the other ones, or what are the other 2?
Okay. So, the first one of the other 2. Do you know who Ed Gein is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. So he was a suspected murderer, or he was a murderer, but also a suspected serial killer.
Okay.
And also possible body snatcher from Wisconsin.
Okay, that's fun.
Pretty sure Wisconsin.
Nice.
I think it was Wisconsin, because every other part of the story is from Wisconsin. So he was a suspected serial killer, and he was the one... And I'm going to choose my words lightly because this is very gross. He took like skin and made things out of it, like a lampshade made of skin. He was just a gross. He had some mental problems.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, so that's him. And there was, just like some of the other objects we talked about, like how the Dybbuk box was on an auction. These things came about because his estate eventually, after he passed away, went to auction, and they had like an estate sale, basically.
Okay.
At this intensely insane, creepy farm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a farm, family farm. So Dan McIntyre inherited some of these things from his grandmother, who went to the estate. It was like one of the neighbors.
Okay.
Went to this estate sale afterwards. So she had purchased something that she thought would make a really nice flower planter. What it was a cauldron where he, it was originally used to reduce pig fat.
Yeah.
But, from what I've told you, you can assume what he used it for.
Yeah, I can.
Anyway, so that's his cauldron. And so, yeah. And so, this guy was trying to sell it on an auction, get rid of stuff, but it was in his garage. And then, one of the other neighbors eventually came over, saw it, and he's like, so how do you know that it's, the real thing? And he's like, I saw this when I was there, right after the police, when all this originally happened, and, he was arrested and everything. And I was there, and he's like, how I know this is the real thing? Every hair on my body is standing up right now, because this was just such a creepy, horrible, bloody, gross scene. He's like, that's it. And so basically, Zach Bagans has it now, of course. But yeah, so that is Ed Gein's cauldron. And of course, people think it's haunted by the spirit of Ed Gein, because this was one of his most important things to his, specific delusions.
Yeah.
So.
And it could also be haunted by the people who were,
very much so.
Who were
because I think he was only convicted of murdering 1 or 2 people. Mm-hmm. But there were a lot of other, missing persons and suspected body snatchings and lots of things going on. So, so that is Ed Gein's cauldron. And I saw that in person, and it is. I get the hairs on your arms thing.
Fun. Okay. Yeah. So, what is the other one that you wanted to tell me about?
Okay, the last one is Bela Lugosi's mirror. Do you know who Bela Lugosi is, since you like movies?
No, not off the top of my
head.
Okay,
no. He's an old Hungarian American actor. Okay. He was Count Dracula in 1931.
Okay.
And was in a bunch of other like horror films.
Okay, nice.
So that's Bela Lugosi. And so when you're walking through the Haunted Museum, this is one of their most famous, Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. Okay. This is one of their most famous, haunted artifacts. So as you're walking through, the guides tell you, who Bela Lugosi was, and that he was really into the occult and really into scrying. So scrying, have you heard of scrying? So scrying is, what do they call it? Like divination, like trying to find messages, trying to get spirit messages. You can do it a couple different ways. Some people like look into the flames of fire to try to see messages. Some people, look into a crystal ball. This form of scrying specifically is looking into a mirror. Okay. And it's kind of acting as like a portal. Okay. So he was reportedly very into the occult. And then the guides also say, he opened a portal in the mirror, because mirrors are very big, like portals. And
mirrors have been used as portals in a lot of, like, even in just like not horror things, mirrors have been used as portals in a lot of things. An idea that mirror can be like an opening to another realm or anything. So that's not surprising.
And that's kind of the idea here is, after he died, the man who rented Bela Lugosi's home after he passed away, the mirror, everything was still there. The mirror was still there. This guy was murdered. It was a suspected mob hit. It's still an unsolved mystery to this day. Okay. But the idea was, this mirror that Bela Lugosi had already kind of opened a portal to saw, this horrific death in this bedroom, and it made an imprint on the mirror and everything. And now this mirror's in the museum. And there's like videos, like if you go to Zach Bagans' page and even some news articles, there's videos of people just like passing out in this room. Now, whether or not that is from the mirror or just they needed to drink more water in the Las Vegas heat, who knows? But so basically they say this mirror's haunted because of both Bela Lugosi and the imprint of this mob hit murder. And now it's in Zach Bagans' museum.
That actually makes me think of, there was a movie that I watched several years ago that was really good. It's a horror movie, and it's about a mirror like this. It's like a haunted. The whole thing is a haunted mirror, and it basically they move it into their house, and it just causes just chaos. And because it was, and they tell kind of like a backstory with this big ornate mirror. It starred Karen Gillan, who's she's the redhead in like Jumanji, if you've seen that, and she was one of the doctor's assistants of Doctor Who back in the day.
Okay.
But it's very interesting. It's called Oculus. If you want to watch a horror film that's fun and like that, it's very interesting, because like the mirror has its own personality in this, even though it doesn't move or anything. It's very interesting, like what they say it makes them do and what it makes them do. So it's very interesting.
It's very interesting how a lot of, when you think of haunted objects, a lot of things are mirrors or, it's very interesting because a lot of people think they're portals. Now, so that's the last of the like haunted objects. Okay. But so I have this thought. I'm not going to call it a theory. It's definitely not scientific. It's just me thinking out loud. So I genuinely believe that like the energy you put out into the world is sometimes what you get back. Mm-hmm. But then I was thinking about,
karma.
If enough, kind of like karma. But like if enough people think about something, and I talked about this on like episode 3 of this podcast when I came as a guest for you guys. So if enough people think about something and put energy into something, it's almost like you can create it. And this wasn't like proven by any means scientifically, but there was an episode, Kindred Spirits, and the host of that, Amy and Adam, I think, they basically set up an experiment, an unscientific experiment, kind of. They just sat in a room, created a fake story, like thought really hard about it, put a lot of energy into this story about this boy, how he was abused as a kid, his dad walked out, his mom hit him, whatever. They basically created a story.
Okay.
Then they called over FaceTime a psychic, Chip Coffey, and Chip picked up on that fake story that they had just created in that moment and just put a lot of energy into creating it.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. So then it makes you think, a lot of these things, I mean, people put so much energy into thinking and believing and these different things. And
I mean, you know,
it's an interesting thought.
They talk about the fact that you can manifest things. Like if you're you can manifest things into happening if you think about them hard enough, because you will do something, or, you know, something. I don't know the science behind it, but I would guess that kind of in the back of your head,
effort into
you
it.
put more effort into things, and you can, and even bad things. Like if you can make yourself feel sick, if you feel like something's going to happen, you can make yourself sick, because your mind is a powerful thing. But
my brain is too powerful.
like it's an interesting idea. Yeah, like you said. So, okay, so that's all of the items. So you also said you had a list of the 5 most dangerous artifacts.
The actual legitimate most dangerous artifacts, not necessarily haunted, just dangerous.
Yeah, which you said I'm probably going to laugh at.
Yeah, because it's well, duh. Okay, so I'll start from number 5 down. So number 5, Marie Curie's notebooks, because they are so radioactive.
Yeah.
Because she studied that, died by studying that. And so, a lot of the things from her original lab, when they display they're, displayed in lead-lined boxes, and because they're still so radioactive, people have to sign a waiver to see them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So definitely a dangerous artifact.
Okay.
Another one from a different museum in London, which I don't know if we've talked. I think we've talked about this before. Arsenic wallpaper.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah, because they made really bright colors.
Yeah. I mean,
so
yeah, that doesn't
especially in kids' rooms, because kids' rooms were so colorful.
Colorful, yeah.
They all had arsenic wallpaper.
Yeah.
Because moisture, if there's moisture in the wall, it releases, some of that. And the funny line from that is arsenic wallpaper has a confirmed body count higher than some serial killers. It's geez.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So that was number 4. And then number 3 and 2 are along the same lines. So this is just King Tut's tomb.
Okay.
And the tomb of King Casimir. Where is he from? A Polish king.
Okay.
So both of these, and a lot of these tombs, the reason so many people died after, opening them is because there was either poisonous gas or fungi in there.
Makes sense.
And you ingest it, when you discover it. So then there's, the curses and things that come out of that, when really it's just poisonous gas or fungi or
a decomposing body that causes you to die. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then number 1 on this was just all the radioactive products from the 1900s.
Yeah.
Because there was so much radiation cooling. And so the picture this article shows is a radioactive water cooler. So imagine in the office, a water cooler in the office, but it's so highly radioactive that having one sip from it is like spending an hour in Chernobyl. It's the equivalent. So that was number 1, was just all of these stupid radioactive devices from the 1900s.
We've as a human race, we've done some dumb things. And trying to
you don't know it's dumb until science evolves.
That's the thing, is they don't know that it's dumb. But, you can, I've seen pictures of old, like, kids' science kits that came with a little piece of radioactive material, and it's like, okay, that's probably not the best thing for a child to be carrying around with them. Like, I understand, it's like, I get that, it's probably not the best thing. Radioactivity is not something that's it's not something to lightly deal with.
Yeah, to play with.
Yeah. Radioactive things are not something to lightly play with or deal with. So
so that's the 5 dangerous artifacts that I found.
Yeah. There's actually going back to King Tut's tomb and stuff, there's I believe it is the tomb of, I don't remember his name. I can't remember his name to right now, but in China, I'm sure you've heard of them or seen pictures of the Terracotta Army, the Terracotta Warriors. Yeah. So the emperor who had them buried with him, they assume that tomb is extremely deadly as well, because apparently they believe that he might have died of mercury poisoning because he was so infatuated with it and thought it would heal him. So they've done tests around his tomb, and they believe, and this is why they can't really get into it or can't open it, is they believe that there's like a lake of mercury around this thing, like that he was that like infatuated with it and thought that it would save him, that it's like surrounded with mercury, so there's no way to get to this tomb at the moment. They can't figure out how, which is crazy. That's wild. But so I should have, now that I'm thinking about it, I did something really dumb, and I should have saved that as my fact. But we'll do it. We'll figure it out. So anyway, Nick, what is your fun fact for this week?
Yeah, so mine's about artifacts, not necessarily haunted or dangerous, just like treasure.
Okay.
But one of the things that's always fascinated me is the Nazis looting different treasure from different countries.
Yep.
And hoarding it. And so my fact is that the particularly valuable art and other looted treasures, most notably they kept in salt mines, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Altues and Merkers during World War II to protect them. So they had them in salt mines and caves where some of the most, or some of the locations that the Allied forces eventually found the most treasure, so to speak, in. And this is all like documented historical records that they were in like these salt mines and caves because they were so worried about, the Allied forces finding them.
There's actually another movie about that if you wanna watch something on that's called The Monuments Men, that came out several years, probably a decade ago now. It's got John Goodman and a few other big name actors in it, but they play a group. They're like a group of historians that join the military to go find all these artifacts that have been stolen by the Nazis, which is it's kind of it's pretty interesting story. So mine is more ghost related. I've got a couple here that I found that are interesting. This site that I'm on, it's called spiritshack.co.uk. So no idea how accurate this
Spirit
is.
Shack.
But we're gonna go with it anyway. It says that according to a study by Premier Tours, the United States is the most haunted place in the world, followed by the UK. It's based on the number of reported ghost and UFO sightings and haunted historic places. So that's interesting. Also, I guess according to this, it is believed that ghosts are more active at night because there's less electronic items to interfere with them.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I've always, obviously anytime you think about ghosts, you think about nighttime. Cause,
and like scary movies.
Yeah,
and things.
like you don't, I don't ever think of seeing a ghost during the day. Like, when I'm driving to work in the middle of the day, I don't think about, I'm going to see a ghost on the, it's night. It's always night when you think about ghosts. And and I never really thought about why, but that's an interesting theory that it's because of less electronics. Because like we talked about earlier with the equipment that they use, it's all, everything that I've ever heard is it's all about like electromagnetic energy and things. So, and everything.
Yeah, because we've talked about that when we went to the cemetery and we have that EMF detector.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. This was an interesting episode because I've never heard of most of these artifacts. Like I said,
I think it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's something interesting. If you want to learn more about them, I mean, obviously you can look them up.
Do your own research.
Yeah, do your own research. We're not.
Again, this is Coffee Talk with Kevin and Nikki. Yeah. This is what we're interested in.
It's in the title, folks. It's called Insufficient for a reason. Come on.
I know.
But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. We had fun. We hope you guys have fun as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. It's always helpful for us, and we like to hear from you guys. So let us know what you think, what else we might want to talk about, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.